PM versus vendor. Team play for success.
I'm Gabriela and I have been a certified bilingual translator English to French and Romanian since 2010. I consider myself a beyond words vendor and I love being close to my PMs.
I'm Lucía Gutiérrez, a localization project manager with almost 10 years of experience. I have worked in many different LSPs with many different hats, but always focusing on project management, as it is the job I enjoy the most.
Hello everyone, we are back with another special duo.
Hello, Gabriela. Hello, everyone. Yeah, that's right. So as part of our anniversary series, you know that we're inviting people to discuss some topics that we've already discussed. So today, for the PM side, we've got Sara Manini. Sara is a localization and content professional, and she's got experience with content coordination, CRMs, cross-functional collaboration. She was also a translator, like in the past. Now she's more on the coordination side of things. So her background really spans content operations, customer communication, localization, workflows. So she's got a practical understanding of how teams can align across roles, processes, and expectations. So because of this, we're really excited to have you in with us today. Sara, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. Hello, everyone.
Hello, Sara. And from Team Vendors, we have another Gabriela. I love it. I really love it. We have Gabriela Ratz. She's a freelance translator and localization specialist working from English and German to Romanian, but also from Romanian to English. And she offers several services like translation and transcreation for website and app localization, MTPE, editing, and subtitling. I don't do that. So basically, she helps brands communicate naturally across markets. I know that she covers legal and business content too, food and nutrition, and also arts and culture. That's very interesting because I'm not an art person. And what I like most about her, because I know her a bit, we worked on several projects together. She's very committed to quality. She replies very quick, and that's good for a vendor, team vendors. And I also know she's certified by the Romanian Ministry of Justice, a member of ATA, American Association, SEOL, and Women in Localization. So welcome, Gabriela. We are so happy to have you.
Thank you very much for having me. Hello, everyone. And yeah, let's dive into it all.
Yeah, let's go. So as I already told you, we are discussing topics that have already been discussed. So today's topic is going to be about what's a PM, what's a translator, can a translator become a PM and the other way around? So let's talk about roles in general.
Yeah, and we start with vendors because we rock. So, Gabriela, here is my first question for you. What is the core responsibility of your role that the other side, the enemy side, the PMs?
Oh, come on, don't be that unfair to us.
No, we love you. We love you. I'm sure, Gabriela and I, we love you very much. So, what is the core responsibility of your role that the other side often overlooks? What do you think?
Yeah, first of all, I want to emphasize that I've been blessed with mostly wonderful PMs who really tick all the boxes. And I would say that they never overlook anything of what my expectations are. But so it was a bit difficult for me to actually think of something, but I have. So some of the PMs I've worked with don't really understand the importance of answering questions. So they don't understand that I as a vendor and as a translator, I might have questions. And when I ask them in the chat tool or via email, they sometimes not answer. So it's and this is always tricky because this means that I'm left guessing the meaning of a word or of a sentence, and I risk producing an output that is incorrect or not aligned with the brand guidelines and so on. So I think this is something that has happened to me in the past. So people don't answer, but then when I really don't get an answer, I say to myself, I did everything I could. So I asked again, and this is a bit tricky because I mean. I don't want to say that. Sometimes I think, well, it's not my responsibility anymore when that happens, but I know it's unfair to do so, but I sometimes do think about it. But even if I say this to myself, I'm a perfectionist, and it still bothers me that I didn't get an answer, and I stress about the fact that maybe I did something wrong. Yeah, and I don't know if it happens to you, Gabriela, as a vendor, but I sometimes dream about terminology, and it's horrible. I mean, I wake up in the middle of the night and I say, "Oh God, this was like that or like this." So would be it for me. Some PMs don't acknowledge the importance of questions and answering to them.
100% with you. Even while I'm cooking, when I take a shower, it happens a lot, and sometimes I'm frustrated. Sometimes I try to understand, and this is why I also want to ask Sara the same question, because she has experience as a PM, but also as a vendor. So, Sara, do you think what do you think about Gabriela's answer?
I totally feel Gabriela. So thank you for pointing this out. It is true, like as a translator in the past, I can totally see that sometimes you ask something that sounds very obvious to you that was put in the context to begin with, and the answer is a bit vague or completely misunderstood. But it's also true that one thing that it's not seen by vendors maybe is that sometimes, unfortunately, we don't also know the answer, and that's very sad to say, but we receive tasks from many different stakeholders, many different departments, and some of them are very good at communicating what they need, what they want. Some others miss this link between the task and the person who's gonna translate it. Of course, I'm the middle person in this encounter, so I try my best to connect the two poles, but sometimes it's also something that I didn't think about. So, for example, something that is very specific to the company that to me is obvious, and to the vendor, of course, is completely unknown. This means that there's also another kind of challenge that PM encounter that vendors maybe they don't consider all the time, is that we also miss the direct contact with the vendors. Like, for example, I have my colleagues in the office. I meet them almost every day. I know how their brain works. I know when they manage to connect dots and when they interpret things in a different way. So I try to communicate with them in different ways, just to adapt my message to their needs. With vendors, I try my best to know them, but since unfortunately they're very far, I would really love to have them in the office as well. Sometimes I can see that this connection is lost. It's also sometimes a matter of cultural differences. Sometimes I think that I'm coming up as funny and very empathetic towards a vendor, and it happened that the vendor was just like, wait, you're getting too close to me. Like, this is not your something that should interest you, so please keep the distance. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry, I'm Italian. I interact with vendors from 20 different countries, so sometimes this is very tricky, and this can go on things on a personal, professional relationship, but also when it comes to context and interpreting a task. So we do our best, trust us, and of course, if something is really important, feel free to ask over and over again. I prefer that the vendor asks me 1,000 questions to do a task properly than complete silence and then the task is done wrongly. So don't be shy about that.
Yeah, that's totally right. I normally try to have like one translator, one vendor for each main language that I manage, and to have that person really close to me, because that way I can always go and say, hey, I got this, even if it's from another client. But if you are able to maintain a good relationship, then you can go and ask like, hey, do you think this is right? And then they can tell you, oh yeah, oh no, whatever. So it's like my benchmark. That's what I try to do, at least.
Makes a lot of
So
sense.
yeah. So Sara, I'm really curious to know what you're gonna say to this, because you've been both a translator and a PM. So do you think that one person can realistically do both roles at the same time?
At the same time, I guess it can be tricky, especially when it comes to the size of the companies you work in and the amount of tasks that you need to handle. As a disclaimer, I've always been working as a translator as a side gig to my full-time job. So that was also a matter of managing time, of course. But for sure, like if it's a middle-sized company, small company, I can see it's totally possible. I don't see any issue with that. As long as you share the inner knowledge of you inside the company with the other translators, because assuming that in this case it would be involving also languages that are others from the one the person speaks. So yeah, it's totally possible.
Okay, that's good. And Gabriela, what do you think?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I never worked as a PM. And this was, I think, one of my biggest regrets when I started. I mean, not when I started out. After a few years, I realized that I lacked that experience of having worked as a PM, because that meant that having worked in an agency at the beginning would have helped me understand our industry a lot better and a lot faster than and from more experienced colleagues. Because I didn't have this opportunity, I learned it all on my own, not necessarily the hard way, but definitely the long way. And yes, I think that I actually know of colleagues who are both translators and PMs, or have switched from one role to another. Like, for example, also Sara she also switched from being a translator and then PM. But I definitely think that you can do both of them. And it's not only that you can, I think having worked in both roles makes you better also in both roles. So a PM with a background as a translator can be a better PM. And I actually remember that I had a discussion with a PM colleague at a conference, and she told me something along the lines, when I have a project to assign, I know exactly what materials and what boxes I need to tick in order to give to that translator so that they can do a good job. So yeah, I think it's not only that it is possible to work, I mean, not simultaneously, not necessarily simultaneous. You can do that, but it's possible to have both skill sets, and having one of them enhances the other, in my opinion.
I think Lucia, she knows my answer. For me, it's so different. I can't do it because I also think that our personal way of working, living, or even our character contribute to how we work. And I always say that Lucia, she is a very big diplomatic person that I will never be. I can't. It's like my humor is like doing some bungee jumping. I don't know. For me, it's a no. I don't think, personally, I don't think I will ever be able to be a PM. But I truly respect people who can do both. So kudos to you for agreeing to that. But I can't do it. And this is where I will ask you something, Gabriela, about the pressures that our side as vendors are unseen, or maybe not seen so often by the other side, because I feel that we have some pressures that the PMs don't really see. But maybe if they have knowledge in both sides, maybe. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I have like a bit of an obvious answer, but I'm still going to elaborate on it. I thought about deadlines and the way we approach deadlines in our roles, different roles, because I think that a PM, if they have the luck to work with wonderful freelancers who never miss deadlines, they get used to that. And then for them, setting a deadline is a bit of a transactional issue. So you say, here's the task, here's the deadline, the translator agrees, and then you can go on as a translator and do your job. And as a PM, you can concentrate on other responsibilities you have. But as a translator, it's a lot of stress, especially when you have like a busier period and you realize that you've maybe bitten off a little bit more than you can chew. So this month I was a bit in that kind of situation, so maybe that's why I thought about it. I realized at some point that I cannot deliver my work at the standards I would have wished to if I didn't ask for a deadline extension. So I asked the client who I knew didn't have very strict deadline requirements. I asked them if they could please grant me an extension, which they did gladly. So it wasn't a big deal for them. And I kind of suspected that. But it was a big deal for me because this is an exception. I usually don't miss deadlines. But this time it was a bit tricky. And I thought about it for several days before actually going to the conclusion that I need to ask for that extension. So for me, it was really, really something that a situation that stressed me. So, but the PM probably I don't know, maybe Sara can tell me if deadlines stress her also as a PM or not necessarily.
Yes, I think it depends from the type of task and which company you are into, which company you're collaborating with. Honestly, personally, I don't have any issue as long as I know in advance that the deadline cannot be respected. For me, it's totally fine. Like, again, I'm not working with saving life or inventing something groundbreaking. So it's really about, having an exact deadline for when the job is done, that is done properly, hopefully. And then we can agree on that. It's absolutely not an issue. But then, of course, it depends because, like, for example, if it's a Christmas campaign, when it's time sensitive, Black Friday, I guess that's also the time in which translators for e-commerce are busier. So then if I don't have the translation by the time that I need it, it's a problem. But we try to organize tasks well in advance so that even if there are 3-4 days of buffer, the translators can all deliver the right date. And
maybe that's the reason why people translate Christmas stuff in September or stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like all the e-commerce company have been into, you start preparing for Black Friday and Christmas already in July or August. Sometimes it's really crazy, but it makes sense. But yeah, that's the thing, that as long as the two parties are aligned, that's why I always ask in advance, like, please let me know if you cannot make it already, even if there is a deadline of 2 weeks, because at least I can organize my work. I can then already communicate to the stakeholders that for this specific market, this task is going to arrive a bit later. But if I know it 2 minutes before the deadline, then of course it's a bit trickier because, like, what am I going to do now? What am I going to tell the stakeholders? Do I have to use ChatGPT? I don't know. So it's a bit more unstable and scary. But otherwise, I don't think
I totally agree with that, Sara. I mean, as long as you tell me well in advance that I've got time to contact another translator and the translator has time to do the job, then I'm fine. If you tell me like 1 hour before the deadline, then you're killing me. Because that means that you need to go and run and look for someone, and that is so stressful. So, Sara, which pressures you think are unique to the PM role?
As I kind of pronounced, managing stakeholders, people from other teams that maybe didn't understand what the process is about. So having to find a way to make them understand without sounding unprofessional or something like I'm not doing my job. Because they don't know the time and the effort that it requires to deliver quality translations, but also like the difference that it can make. Like, of course, I can hurry a translator, but then the quality is not optimal, and then we lose conversions, and we lose audience. So there is a lot at stake, and we need to find the right words and the right conversation to make this understandable to everyone in the company. And sometimes translators are just like, but this is the time I have, and why didn't you assign the task before, and why there's not enough context connecting to the first point. Sometimes the communication is tricky at the source, and so that's all causes issues later in the process.
I totally get you. And I can tell you that as a localization manager, I'm working as a localization manager now, and that is even worse. Because it's internal people that you need to explain the situation to and manage the expectations, but normally they are like upper in the chain, so upper management, and that sometimes is just so difficult. So I totally get you.
Thank you. It's
So-
good to know that.
No, you're not alone. That's why I always prefer to work with localization managers rather than marketing managers.
I have to say that we also have external pressure from people who don't understand our job and deadlines. Voila.
That's true. Yes. So, Sara, do you think that the separation of roles is about hierarchy, specialization, accountability, anything else?
I think it's in part connected to specialized set of skills, but mainly in my mind it's more a matter of how your personality is. Like, there are some people who like to interact with a lot of people all the time and organize tasks and stuff like that. Some others that are just like, no, I want to focus on this thing that I can do very well, and they're great at that. And so it's a matter of personality and tendency. I think specialization also concerning how much knowledge I have about the company, because I had the luck to be a translator and now a PM for the same company. And I can say that being inside the company, you know way more than when you are a translator. And that helps you a lot, delivering good translations, understanding how the message needs to be translated. So it's specialization based on knowledge in that sense, yes. Of course, for sure, like nobody's better than anyone, or I'm not the boss on anyone, we're just cooperating.
Yeah, no, but it's true that it's not the same working with in-house translators or freelance translators. I've worked with both as well, and the game is different. It's a different game. Let's leave it like that.
Yeah.
Gabriela, what's your take on this? Do you think that the separation is about hierarchy, specialization, accountability?
Well, I'd like to say that I think it's not about, and I think it's not about hierarchy, because I always like to see our relationship as collaborative. So there's not one that's managing the other.
Thank you.
It is project
Thank
manager,
you for that.
but actually thought about a story I have from the beginning of my translation career, which I want to share. I hope I promise it's not long. So I was assigned with translating my first password, and it was my first translation of a personal document. And the PM sent me the document, the source file. I translated it in a Word file, and I sent it back. And he looked at it, and he immediately replied, "No, Gabriela, wrong. This should be pretty in a table." And it was, it struck me at that point because it really sounded very bossy, and in a way that wrong. Maybe I don't know how to explain it, but to me it sounded in a way that he was trying to be my boss. Yes, I had done a mistake because I wasn't sure. At the time, I didn't know that. I thought, well, there's not a table in the passport. Why would I add a table in the file, in the translated file? But this really made me realize that I do not want to perceive this relationship as being about hierarchy, and more. I wanted to see it more as a collaborative process, because I think it's a partnership that we're doing as freelancers and PMs. And when it comes to accountability or specialization, I think I would go with specialization also, like Sara said, because meaning, not necessarily what the company does, but what our responsibilities are, because a PM is more on the coordination side, doing ensuring that deliveries are okay, timelines are kept, and so on. And I'm doing more of the cultural side, which is making sure that the translation is of good quality, that it is accurate, that is on brand, and so on. So I think this is actually how I understand specialization and the relationship between the relationship with our roles. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think it's not about hierarchy, and I'm not so happy to say that I've worked with some PMs that they give the impression that they are like upper, which is not the case, and it's really sad, to be honest. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, and I totally agree with you. We are all on the same boat, and I have to say that accountability, it's a shared responsibility as well, because yeah, if the vendor delivers bad quality, then that's a mistake, no? But if the PM doesn't know how to communicate the needs to the vendor, that's also a mistake. So I think it has to do with both sides, really.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you, ladies, for discussing this with us. I think you've given a different view, because actually Gabriela and I are two people that believe that a PM couldn't be a translator, but you've got a different take on it, which is good, and that's why we're bringing more people to discuss. So thank you for everything, ladies, and I don't know if you would like to say any final words.
I mean, maybe just adding that also vendors have huge project management skills. Like I remember I had the calendar as big as my desk when I was doing translations, because you have 4 or 5 different clients and they all want different things using different tools, different deadlines. So of course we need to recognize it as well.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us today, and I hope you had fun. That's the
Definitely.
first thing that we want you to do, to enjoy the conversation. And to everyone listening, thank you, and see you on the next episode.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
What you've heard are just our personal opinions. We by no means intend to impose our personal views on anyone. Feel free to disagree, throw tomatoes at us, or just drop a comment to let us know. Thank you!